So that being said, let's jump into our first topic.
Sure.
People that meet you in different arenas, meet you on social, see you through social media, they could think, oh, he's a photographer. That's what we know him as.
Mm-hmm.
I could see him and say, okay, the guy trains. He must be some sort of bodybuilder. But first and foremost, the first place I knew you from was Perfect Sports. But I take the supplements. I love it. I take my pre-workout. I love my protein afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not an infomercial. This is facts. Like before I even knew you even existed and who you were, I tried all sorts of products. I have a very sensitive system out there.
Yes.
It's just the way it is. I have a very hard time digesting protein powders, and they don't react very well for me. But if you want to be in the world of bodybuilding and if you want to grow, they really make a difference.
They do.
For having clean, nice fuel into your body.
Easily
Perfect Sports.
Yep.
Perfect Sports is the only thing that agreed with me.
Thank you.
And the only thing I saw consistent results. I wasn't getting sick of the taste because there was a variety of taste.
Yep.
And I loved it. And then when I learned as far as that you were in the picture and it started to make sense, this guy is the embodiment of what a perfect sport is. So that being said, walk us through, how did this company come to be? What is the history of Perfect Sports, please?
Long story short, I used to own a number of pro shops and gyms.
Okay.
And I would be selling other people's products. At the same time, I was training to fight. I trained at a club where a lot of the athletes in there were going to fight in Pride in UFC. So I had the intention of going to fight in Pride. And at the same time,
How long ago was this roughly?
96, 97.
Okay, so a couple years ago.
Yeah, a couple of years. And I had 5 pro shops, and I came up with the idea of developing my own line to sell in my pro shops, because I would take a look at the products that are available, what made them good, what made them weak, and I would basically take what made them good, try to make them better, and then I would capitalize on what made them weak. So I brought out a line called Supreme Supplements way back in the day, and I started selling it in my pro shops, and then I had the idea of trying to get it into a few local stores around the area. So I did that. I sold all the pro shops that I had, and I developed the line. And I had the great fortune of hooking up with a couple of friends who used to work at GNC. And so we basically had the opportunity to get it into GNC. But the problem was, at the time, I believe there was 100 GNCs. I had no way to sell to that many places. So I went to a distributor and introduced them to the line, and they're like, well, we don't want your line unless you have someone who will take it. So I went to GNC. I'm like, are you interested in the line? And so I took the money that I had.
Yes.
I filled 4 stores or 5 stores for free.
Okay.
And if it sold well, then they would entertain the idea of bringing in the brand. The problem was I had no way to facilitate selling to 100 stores at the time. So I basically pitched both of them against the other. I went to the distributor. I said, I'll give you GNC. I said, you're taking my line. I went to GNC. I said, I have a distributor. They'll be able to supply all your stores. And that's how it started.
The pro shops, how long did you have those for?
Maybe 3 years. Prior to that, I owned a clothing company, a bodybuilding clothing company. And
Yes.
Prior to that, I was just working in advertising. I've never really worked for anybody outside of myself. I was never comfortable with the idea of being just limited to that paycheck that I'm going to make every 2 weeks.
Yes.
That's slavery, man. I couldn't do it. Not to say that there's anything wrong with it. There is a certain comfort in knowing that every 2 weeks you're getting your paycheck. And there's been times, man, and I've had some pitfalls where I became a millionaire my first year, and subsequently I lost it. I was deeply, deeply, deeply into debt. I was, and it's just like a fight. You get knocked down, and you decide, okay, I'm out, or you decide to put on your big boy pants and keep going. And I just refuse to go down. So you keep going, and
but building up those pro shops, for example, before going into Perfect Sports,
yes,
you build the thing from ground up. It's your baby.
Yep.
Do you get attachment to businesses? Do you get attachment when you build up something like that? And was it a hard thing to let it go and move to the next venture?
No,
or
no.
How does the mindset work in that?
That to me, that was just a means to an end. I mean, the supplement, the company Perfect Sports, that's my baby. That's because it's what I believe. That statement of be great.
Yes.
You mentioned earlier how Perfect Sports doesn't upset how diesel doesn't upset your stomach.
Right.
It's a very simple reason why not.
Okay.
Because it's very easy for a company to put a lower quality protein in their product.
Yes.
And let's just say we offer 26 grams of protein per serving.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say I only put in 21. You're never going to know the difference. Your body is not going to know the difference. But I'm making that extra 5 grams of protein per scoop in a, let's say, 20 serving container. That adds up.
Sure.
So then I could expand on that further. Instead of putting a high quality isolate, let me put a little lower grade isolate. You're never going to know. And unless there's a complaint with Health Canada, nothing really happens. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of companies that cheat. They lie on the label, and that's just the way it is. So that's why there are people that like, man, I took that protein and I had to run to the bathroom.
Yeah.
But my mentality has been, you can only screw somebody once. So let's just take a relationship between you and I. Let's say we're going to do something together, and I'm constantly screwing you over. Mm-hmm. You're either A, going to tell me to go myself.
Yes.
You're going to find a way to get back at me and screw me back. So what's the purpose of doing that? I've never understood screwing somebody. I don't operate that way. I just don't think it's an honorable way to live. Mm-hmm. But you're a store, there's your customer. I'm going to make sure that customer is getting a great product. I'm going to make sure that you get a good margin of return on your investment, mm-hmm. and you're going to continue to buy from me. I'm going to put forth a message that I truly believe in. And I think, to me, that's a win-win scenario for everybody. He's going to be happy, you're going to be happy, and I'm going to be happy, mm-hmm. knowing that I took care of you and I'm giving that guy his value for his money.
So that being said, pitting the distributor, GNC, trying to get everything going as far as the distribution going, yep. getting the right stores set up, the quantity, from that scenario to being in literally every possible outlet that could sell this product.
Yeah, we're global now. We've expanded to other countries.
Mind blowing. Yeah. But if you don't have your drive, if you don't have your kahunas, yep. it doesn't happen that way.
Sure.
And there's points, and mental health is a very real thing. People get anxious. People, when they're losing money, hemorrhaging money, they can fall into deep depression.
Yep.
And I'm looking at the conditioning you are with your physical body being fit. I'm sure your mind is equally fit, and you stuck to the game plan. So walk us through, when GNC hits, how do we get it to a global dominant brand?
With that brand, yes. which was called Supreme Supplements, there was a falling out with GNC, which subsequently made a falling out with my distributor. That was a really bad day because, and I remember it was January, I believe, 2004. GNC pulled my brand. My distributor stopped a $750,000 check that I was due. So I was screwed. Yes. And there's a story about what happened that day. Me and the president, Mike Haberman, I went to go see a bankruptcy lawyer.
Yes.
And I couldn't afford a haircut, so I went to like a cheap haircutting place. Yes. And they screwed my hair up. Like, it was just a mess. So I'm dealing with the fact that I'm and also understand that I was living a life. Like, I had the business had grown to, my ego was inflated. Yes. I was driving sports cars, wearing Armani suits. I had all the money. I was dating all the models. And then overnight I was like, dude, you're eating cans of tuna and ramen soup again. And again, it goes back to the fight mentality. Okay, you just got knocked out. You got really knocked out there. What are you going to do, bud? Get the fuck up. That's what you have to do. So that's what we did. And we just grew and grew and grew. So when that fallout happened, yes. that brand was done. That distributor was done. So I had to start from scratch, man. From scratch. There was months I was making $5,000 a month. So at the time, Mike.
And that's covering everything. That's not $5,000 in your pocket.
No, man. That's like, I had to cover everything. And, again, like Mike, he worked for free for 6 months. We were struggling, dude.
Yes.
It's a funny story that I told the guys I work with on Friday. I was so broke that I couldn't even dry wash and take my suits to the dry cleaners. Yes. So I stuck them in my own washer and dryer and screwed them up. Apparently you can't put suits in.
Apparently not.
No, apparently not, right?
Yes.
So, but again, you decide that nothing is stopping you from what you want.
So when was the reincarnation of the company, and when was Perfect Sports born from that failure?
Yep, Perfect Sports. Yep. Perfect Sports was the phoenix that came out of Supreme Supplements.
Okay.
And
roughly when was this? Would you say?
Maybe 2005, okay. 2006.
Okay.
And we came up with the idea of doing a new brand, yes. and we had to eke out a living. It was, just getting new stores. And keep in mind that these stores had already been burned by me with Supreme Supplements.
Right.
So I conducted myself like this with all the people that I owed money to and my suppliers. I went to everybody and I said, listen, I know I owe you X amount of dollars. You're either going to help me move past this and I'll pay you everything I owe you, or you're going to make my life difficult and I'm going to you for the money that I owe you.
Right.
And so there's some people that supported me.
Yes.
And I've been loyal and I grew with them and I paid back everybody. Mm-hmm. And the people that made my life difficult, I screwed them for the money.
Bruce, you know, in that sense, you know, you have to have knowledge, you have to have a game plan, but there has to be some luck in this. You know, everybody thinks that 100. Luck is not involved at all is foolhardy.
No, I'm incredibly blessed in my life.
You have to have that. And I can tell you in the business world, I've been around it since I've been a practicing lawyer. I took a business degree at Schulich before I went into law school. Why? Because I said, if I'm going to have a business client as a lawyer, I have to understand the business mentality.
Smart. And I don't have that. Dude, yes. I have an art degree, man.
Yes.
I basically grew to this with just the intention of being a fair and good businessman, yes. And having the wherewithal to know that I need to bring in people that can do things that I don't. I'm a big picture kind of guy.
Yes.
So I have people that I work with that handle all the details. I'm like, okay, here's where I want to go. This is what I want to happen. I'm like, you guys figure out, yeah. Right? And it's a joke, you know.
But you have the degree in thugonomics. You have the degree of life. You have the degree of street smarts. Mm. And it's art degree, business degree. At the end of the day, if you're going to plop somebody on an island, they get off the island, can they figure things out? That to me is the leader. That's the entrepreneur. Yeah. And that's what I see in you here when you're saying that. And you get very few kicks at the can. The fact that you had Supreme at the time and didn't take, very few of anybody can come around and still be the face of it and get that second chance. You know, you see athletes getting second chances all the time in sports, but in the business world, very few will give you that chance. And I'm glad to hear that you were able to kick down those doors.
But you just don't, if that door doesn't open for you, try yes. another door, man. Like you decide what you want in your life. You don't let life decide what you get. You decide what you're getting from life. So, you know, there was doors that closed on me. Yes. Like, okay, this door, that fucking door doesn't work either. I'm going to go to this door. And you just keep going, man. Your goal is this, and this is where you are. In your mind, you got to come up with a plan to get from A to B. And it's never going to be a straight line. There's going to be pitfalls, there's going to be curves, but you keep deciding to move forward. That's all there is, man. Success is guaranteed as long as you keep moving forward.
And there's going to be two kinds of people out in this world. There's the ones that are going to see Perfect Sports and say, Bruce, bravo. And there's the ones that are going to say, you know, what happened to Supreme? And it's funny. If you're going to live in the past, I tell them, live in the past, enjoy your time there. I'm living in the present and in the future.
Yep.
See you later.
Yep. Everybody makes mistakes.
Absolutely. There's no one perfect, certainly.
No.
But it takes a real man, gentleman, a person, human being, woman to take ownership of that. There's people that will go blame the whole world. You could have gone and said, you know what? Oh, Supreme didn't take because this person screwed me, that person screwed me. But at the end of the day, taking accountability and saying, you know what? My plan, I'm going to change direction. And you know, when you were talking with those people and the people that you were able to turn around, you know, how did you do that? Like, how did you build that trust again?
I'm a straight shooter, man. I am who I am. So, like, you know, some people think I'm arrogant and abrasive. Some people think I'm humble and giving. I like to present myself exactly how I am. If you don't like me, that's because you don't like me for who I am and perhaps how you perceive me. I mean, I'm not going to get into the minutia of psychological and behavioral understanding. Yes. You may have some internal issues that perhaps you don't like me for whatever demon you're battling with, but that I'm not going to get involved in that. If you don't like me, this is who I am. I'm like this with everybody. I don't care who you are. Yes. You could be the CEO of a major company, and like I don't treat people differently based on their position in life. That's a thing to do.
When I was talking to my production team before, and we were actually talking about this whole concept of it, and you bring up that point, when I didn't know you yet, but when I'm seeing you, I'm not seeing Bruce, you're a mirror. So all of us, when we're talking with somebody, they're mirrors. When I see Bruce, I see a mirror, I see the best me. It brings about my energy, and I want to bring out my inner Bruce. Where somebody is not confident in themselves, saying, oh man, I don't want to see him succeed because then I got to admit my own failures.
Sure,
you know, that's that kind of mirror. So that being said, let's turn it around. The name Perfect Sports, you know, Supreme, Perfect.
Yeah.
Who came up with the name? Why the name? Okay.
Well, just because I like the ultimate achievement.
Yes.
Right? Supreme, perfect.
Yes.
I like that, giving that goal or that aspiration to be the best. Again, everyone goes, I want to be the best version of myself. No, you want to be the best, right? You want to beat everybody else and you want to be the top dog. And again, that may be a very aggressive sort of mentality, but I don't compete and I don't do anything in life to be second best at it. I'm doing it to be the best.
When I came up with my branding for the chosen lawyer, I'm sitting with my partner, we're hashing things out, and he says to me as a joke, we can call ourselves the pretty good lawyers or the good enough lawyers. I said, no chance at all. Not going to do it. I don't feel comfortable in it. At the end of the day, you got to choose a lawyer, go with the chosen lawyer, and boom. Whatever in our branding at the end of the day, it's what would entice us. If we wouldn't buy into the product, how do we expect anybody else to?
Sure. And if you don't walk the talk, you're just a poser. I actually think that's a great name, the chosen lawyer. It's sort of like the chosen one from Star Wars. Like I dig that. But it
can go in so many directions. It's where you want it to be.
Yes. You strive to be the best.
So I can't be the perfect lawyer, but I'll be the chosen lawyer. The same way it could have easily been perfect sports, chosen sports. We all can, it's all in our minds and how we want to slice and dice it. So that being said, where was the turning point? At what point?
Grinding,
and then, at some point in any profession, in any career, in any business, there's that point where it just takes one day.
Sure.
What was your point?
Diesel was the point, right? That we were competing with a brand. And so we basically outdid them in every aspect of their product. But then we sold it at the same price that they were selling it for. So I wasn't making the money. Like even to this day, diesel is still undervalued.
Absolutely,
for what we sell.
It's great value. Even 100%. It doesn't have to be on sale. It is every day.
That is the best product out there, and that's how we did it. And basically, social media. We started talking to people. I affiliated myself with a lot of people, gave them free samples, and it was just word of mouth. Diesel picked up. But for the longest time, Diesel was the face of Perfect Sports. People didn't even know Perfect Sports. They only knew Diesel.
Diesel, right. They probably thought it was called Diesel.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, I take Diesel. Do you know who the company is? Diesel. It's by Diesel. No. But, and then I was fortunate and blessed enough to bring on other people that had the same, mentality and vision for the company. Everyone who works with me at Perfect Sports has the same sort of mental drive, and they all see it as their company, right? Like in my industry, there's a lot of owners of the businesses that they hoard all the wealth. That to me is a stupid thing to do. So I share the wealth. I make sure everyone is overpaid. I pay the best out of everybody in this industry. And I want people to know that we're family here. If you're not happy, I want you to leave. I want you to come to work being happy there. I want you to know that I value what your input is. And I like my team at Perfect Sports, they're family, man. I'll take a bullet for those guys.
Love it. Love it. And so I even my progression with the family, so to speak, because I feel like I have a vested interest in it, because once I'm starting to put it in my body,
sure. You know what kind of responsibility that is to me? Yeah. That you're trusting me. Not just the money, the fact that you're ingesting something that I'm making. Holy dude, that's a huge responsibility. And I don't take that lightly. And not only that, you've chosen that to reach your goals, right? So that's an inspiration to me that you've actually decided to do something with your life to be better at it. And you're like, Bruce, I'm going to try your product and hopefully it gets me to my goal. That is a massive responsibility.
We've been together now through consumption for 5 years. And so I've seen the growth of extra stores, more products, lines of products. I've been watching this whole thing. And at the end of the day, I'm thinking to myself, we don't need to advertise here, because let's say, for example, for me, anybody who's close to me, I'm making them take it. If they're at all interested and they don't believe me, I buy them the product. It's your birthday, here's your gift card, and here's your tub of Perfect Sports. Good luck. And and you start seeing it in my office, you see it in my home, you see it in the college, you see it everywhere. And my family members, it's all in their closets and all in all their cupboards as well. And it's funny how it grows. One person likes it, then 3 people, then from the 3 people, it's 6 people, and it grows. And in everything in business, people, new entrepreneurs, new professionals, they're like, how do I make it in this world? And I tell them my recipe, very simple. First of all, you have a database, you got contacts. Every single person should know what you're doing and who you are. So let's say the average person can have anywhere from 100 to 1,000 contacts. Great. Sure. Once those people believe in you, they start telling their circles, All you need is one golden goose. You need one person to take to believe in you and spread it to their inner circle, and you're done. All you need is really that one person. Mm-hmm. For you, at the end of the day, when you're looking back at all the people that helped you, assisted you along the way, would you say there was one golden goose? There was one person that really, if not for me, if not for them, or
not from an external source, I would say my golden geese are the people that I work with at Perfect.
It's a team.
Yes, it's a team, man. And again, that would be seen as a humble statement. And I keep struggling with the fact that people are seeing me as being humble, because I'm not. But I do believe in giving credit where it's due.
Yes.
And the credit belongs to Perfect Sports, everyone involved. And listen, dude, all the athletes that are involved in it, again, that's why I keep going back that I need to express gratitude. Like, I'm extremely fortunate. I have an incredible network of contacts and people that I work with. It's all due to them, man.
When I interview people at all facets of my operation, so I have the podcasting side, but first and foremost, I'm a partner at a law firm. So I have to bring people in different offices and function in different capacities. I say to myself, there's a special person out there that can they come up with the big plan? That's number one. From there, can they come through with the steps on how to execute, to do the plan, to actually walk through the plan? But then number three is the execution.
A 100. Most people stop at start.
Very few people can do one of them or two of them. Almost nobody can do three of them. And you have to make the decision when you're bringing somebody on board to work with you and be in your circle. Can they do number one, number two, number three, or some combination of it? And that person that could do all three, you hold on to them for dear life because they're a rare unicorn.
Here's another situation that I don't understand in today's sort of environment. You'll get people that have been loyal to your company for X amount of years. It happened to my sister. She worked for a big company for 35, 40 years, and they just let her go. She's 60 and they just let her go simply because they're going to bring in someone who will take half her paycheck. Like, how can you be so disloyal for money? Like, how can you, the people that brought you to the dance, to turn around and say, you know what, thanks for your service, there's the door. That to me is just so dishonorable. I could never behave in that manner.
Agree with you 1,000%. I recall working at a business where they let somebody go Christmas Eve. They were working nonstop overtime, never put through their overtime. They did it for free, and they let them go because they're inefficient. You're getting your work in on time, but we don't like the fact that you have to put in those hours. I know you're not charging us for it, but you're just not efficient enough for us. We have to bring in somebody more efficient. But what kind of message does that send to your team when you're letting the hardest working person go Christmas Eve? You're not going to build any loyalty that way, because they're going to say to themselves, I'm going to bust my butt for you, and I'm going to put in weekends, evenings, I'm going to lose holidays for what? You're going to let me go on a whim because I'm inefficient? That's a scary proposition.
Sure.
And as a leader, I would never do that. I always ask, when you have to let somebody go at the end of the day, when you think about people you bring in, the first question I would ask myself, what did I contribute to this? Did I give them the opportunity to grow? Did I put them in the right? Did I put a square into a round hole? Did I outlay the expectations properly? Did I give them did I give them feedback? Did I give them a chance to improve? There are people that if you try to make somebody into something that they're not, you're not going to get anywhere in life. Sometimes, you may not get the thing you're hoping for from position, but you find those hidden talents, and maybe you'll create a new position for them. Maybe they'll help evolve your company, but you got to be able to read people and to find those elements within them. And I think a true leader can do that.
Sure. But there is something to be said about, your job is to hire people for the job you're looking for.
Oh, absolutely.
There's a saying, I believe it was by Einstein, if you try and get a fish to climb a tree, that fish will always think he's a failure. So there is something to be said about finding people's innate hidden talents, but business is business. I mean, if you're not suited for the job that I need you for, maybe I can do something else with you, but for the most part, I'm going to let you go. Like, I don't like people that take advantage.
Agreed. I mean, there's got to be a balance at the end of the day, and it depends on how long they've been there, what vested interest you have, what kind of training you've had, what they've produced. There's many considerations that go into it. I will give you now the $1 billion idea that I have in my mind for a while. I don't think it's out there. Maybe you and I can develop this in the future as employers and as far as for the world out there. When you're going to hire somebody, in my mind, there's only one thing we need to do. We need to develop what's called the common sense test. And if somebody has common sense, I want them on my team. And if they don't have common sense, I have no use for them. Measuring common sense is a very difficult thing because at the end of the day, you got to put them in real life scenarios and seeing how they react.
Yep.
And in my mind, if you don't have the education, if you don't have the experience, but you have common sense, it will get you through. When I was a young boy growing up, that's all my mother would drill into me. I was like 5 years old, 7 years old, and I didn't know what I'm doing. She said, son, use your common sense. Use your common sense. It'll get you through life. And mom was right.
I was 15 when I first started taking karate. Well, I took it when I was younger, but it was just a flippant thing. But I started studying at 15, and my instructor told me common sense isn't very common. And he's right. You know, it's
very lacking in this world, unfortunately.
People are confusing education for intelligence. It's not the same thing.
It's a question of what you took in and what it's how does your mind work? How does it grow your brain so that when you encounter when times are good and the money's flowing and business is flowing, everybody's a genius, right? Mm-hmm. Like we were talking about real estate before we started today's conversation. When prices are going up and you bought 3 years ago, you could have bought almost anything and you look like a genius, right?
Yes.
The question is when you encounter hardships, when you hit a roadblock, how do you deal with that? And that separates the true winners in my mind.
In every scenario in life.
Yes.
You know, it's, as you said, it's very easy to be, you know, top of your game when everything is groovy, but
yes,
you know, when times are tough, and you will also find out who is loyal to you. When you're the star, when you're the rock star, everybody wants to be your friend.
1,000%.
But when you're, you know, down in the dumps, who's got your back? Who's surrounding you at that time? Those are the true circle of friends that you have. I mean, I know a lot of people. I have a very few amount of friends.
Yeah, it's funny. People ask me, you must have lots of friends because you close so many transactions and you build relationships. Mm-hmm. And I tell them, at the end of the day, I know those relationships, 95 to 99% of them, it's because I'm valuable to them. They have something. They'll say, hey, buddy, I miss you. I love you. Da, da. By the way, can you review this for me? By the way, can you close this for me? And I know if I can't do that for them, they're gone. They're not my friend.
That's right.
It's when you're down and out and you need them, or you don't even have to ask for it. And they say, hey, I sense your energy. I know you need me now. I'm here for you. Those are the true people.
Sure.
Yeah.
Many people only like you for what you can do for them.
And that's where, you know, when you have a team together and you go through hard times, for example, in our economy lately, as far as what's happened in the last couple of years, we won't get into all that.
Yeah.
But there are businesses that had to close up. There are businesses that had to you know, change their model of production and everything else. Did those employers keep the staff? Did the staff stay loyal? You know, did you get pay cuts? Did you not get pay cuts? You know, and it's funny that through adversity, I would tell all employees out there and employers, think of the relationships you built over the last 2 years when you grind it out, and then when the good times are back, remember those relationships.
Sure.
Certainly. So
based on that topic,
yes.
Again, in my industry, there was a few of my competing companies
right.
that dropped people's pays.
Mm-hmm.
They laid people off, and I was very quick at the very beginning. I would sacrifice my salary to make sure everybody stayed on and got paid.
Love it.
So, I mean, again, that's just a form of loyalty and appreciation for what people have given you.
And that's where you're saying, I'll overpay them. I will give them every opportunity, but they'll stay loyal. And, you know, if you do any kind of business analysis, to have to retrain, rehire
Sure.
every time that cycle, it loses so much productivity.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, in a profit and loss scenario, it does make sense to keep people, but I don't look at that. That's a Mike thing. He looks at all the details. For me,
yes.
It's just, if that person is good to you, if that person has been loyal to you, I can't them. I just not built that way.
Thank you for enjoying today's episode of the Chosen Life podcast. Go ahead and hit the subscription button below and the notification bell to catch all of our great shows. And remember to contact the Chosen Lawyers when you are ready for your next real estate and commercial transaction. Go to kormans.ca.